So last week I talked about creating value in the drawing, adding tonality to the figure, and I did that with the Derwent drawing pencil. This week I'm going to talk about using China marker. This is what I want you to buy. I want you to buy several of these, probably 2 or 3, and you want to get a nice long point on it, just like I talked about with the Derwent drawing pencil. It's a really great pencil to use. It's smooth and soft. It's not as soft as a charcoal pencil. It's a little bit darker than a colored pencil, but it's in the same kind of category. You can't erase it, so don't even worry about trying. You can get a nice point with it. And a lot of people don't know how to use it and how to sharpen it, and how to get a nice long point. There's a little string on the end, and you want to pull it down, probably at the very beginning. You probably want to pull it down to about 2 of these little rungs that you'll see on the side. There's little lines that you might take a look at and you'll see them. And then you pull the paper off against that. Be careful because it can get kind of ripped, and then you got to start all over again. This one's coming off okay. I've seen better, but that's how you get the nice long point. Okay, so unwrapping it like this, and that's pretty good because you don't want to put too much pressure on it. It'll break. It's soft. It's pretty thick, but it's also pretty soft. And then take the sandpaper pad to it, and I like to hold it just about on the side and just keep going over it, till you get that nice, smooth, tapered point. Right. So I've got my construction drawing here. I spent some time. It's kind of a complicated pose with the twisting and the turning, the leaning, the big shoulder lean. You know, that was, I got my chopstick out and got my angles, legs, made sure that my balance line was running through where it should, lining up the hands at the top. And now I'm ready to start. I went in and started to define some of the muscle shapes. This is not the shadow mapping. I'm just indicating where those muscle shapes are going to be. You can start anywhere. I'll start right up here with the scapula. I'm not going to worry about line right now. I lightly outlined everything with, underhand pressure, very little pressure. Come back in at the end and worry about that. So here's a really nice core right from the start. I'll get the spine. Get a little more control. I'm pretty far down at the end here. Come back up to the spine. I'm using a rough surface newsprint pad. I've been using the white bond paper. I like the surface. A lot of people don't like the rough pad. I kind of like it myself, the rough surface. There's a really large core on his butt because it's a fairly large form, so it's going to have a large core. It's so dark you can't even see some of the definition of the muscle, so I'm going to drop in that pretty dark shadow everywhere. Defines the calf pretty well. I'll get that now. Let's come back up in here. There's a lot going on. I outlined a little bit of musculature here. Trapezius, it's pretty easy to see that trapezius, that triangle of the trapezius across here. Really well defined. curves around the pelvic crest. It's all form shadow. So let's start dropping in some form shadow. Get my cast shadow right here. There's a secondary core right along here, and it's actually the core of the spinalis muscle right here that's on either side of the spine, and I really want to define that spine better. It's a nice hard edge right up against the spinalis muscle here. So by all means, you're not necessarily finished when you add that form shadow. You can keep pushing where you see it. So there's along the core here, it's going to be a little stronger. It's going to be very, very dark right underneath that crease of the butt. Sacrum. You can define that a little bit better. And that's what's happening right there. Okay. Let's come back and accent that crease a little bit more. Comes pretty far across to right to the edge of the spinalis muscle. Okay. Okay, I'm not quite done with the all the value. I want to keep working down in here and make it much darker. But I'm going to come around and start adding my accent line. And the point is just, it's really, really sharp. I've got a nice tapered point, so it's easy to come in and get weighted line. I don't want to outline. Again, I want to accent. So I want to get the overlap. I'm actually putting a lot of pressure on the point. I've got my finger on it, that's probably why it doesn't break, but you got to watch it because it will. Always keeping an eye on my reference, on my model. See the accurate contours. Just a little bit there. Just a little bit. It's facing the light, coming towards you. Cylinders coming towards you. Okay, some line here. A little bit of overlap. My line comes right into the core here. Got a nice little highlight. Just want to touch on it a little tiny bit. Little overlap. It's pelvic crest. Greater trochanter is the widest point of the hip. And even the arms and the fingers have cores. So I can come up here and start to develop. Here's my thumb right here. The length of the arm cuts in a little bit, comes out underneath the olecranon. Tendon of the triceps, body of the triceps, right into the shoulder with the deltoid muscle. Come up here, there's another core all along the tip, the edge of the thumb. You can even see the tendon right there. Core. Kind of broken line a little bit, broken form. Stronger shadow, form shadow. And you're finally going to run out of time, and you can time yourself on this. These are 40-minute drawings. Okay, let's call it finished. It's not, but the timer just went off and the model stepped off the stand. Okay. So, get 2 or 3 of these China markers. Start using them as soon as you can. This week is a good week to start. I'd like to work with the China markers at least for a couple of weeks, and then we're going to talk about charcoal pencils. And we're going to use charcoal pencils pretty much the same way we're using the China markers and I was using Derwent Drawing before. I want to limit the tonality at first to pencils, and then we'll talk about using all the tools in the last maybe 5 weeks of the semester. Okay? So I hope that was helpful, and get those China markers and start using them. They're great for gesture drawings too. So start using them on your gestures, and let's use them on the longer construction tonality drawings. Okay? Great.